Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Wilkerson Sanders Memorial Stadium. It is the I-30 Classic Part 2 between the Rockwall Heath Hawks and the Rockwall Yellow Jackets. This is the boys' game here at Wilkerson Sanders Memorial Stadium. The girls, of course, are playing over at Heath High School. Happy to be joined by, as I was told the last time, the good-looking Webb. I have to make sure that is absolutely said. The good-looking Webb, which is none other than my partner in crime, Reggie Webb. Reggie, thanks for joining us. So once again, you're going to get the play-by-play action once again this evening. You have the binoculars. Hopefully the names work out just a little bit better here tonight.
Chris, I have not only the binoculars, I have the bifocals. So I am as equipped as I can be, but folks, you got to bear with us tonight. We are literally 3 miles away from the stadium surface, and getting numbers is not always the easiest from our perch up here, but we're going to do the very best we can. We're incredibly thankful to be able to broadcast the game. For those of you who can't be here tonight, such an amazing matchup between two playoff teams. Both of these teams are going to be entering the 6A playoffs next week. Heath, as the district champions, already been determined. So it's going to be really interesting tonight to see the strategy between both coaches. It is a huge rivalry game, obviously, between both of these schools. But at the same time, you've got to look forward to next week. You've got to protect your players. You've got to make sure that you're not overextending anybody that's got little dings and nicks. You want to make sure that you're taking care of them because you want to be at full strength when the playoffs start next week.
I always think of that Taylor Swift song, Bad Blood. There's just a little bit of bad blood between these two schools.
Completely.
In any sport that you play. Of course, a lot of them are friends, but when they get on the turf, when they get on in the pool, when they get on the court, it's anything but best friends out there, that's for sure. They definitely want to beat each other. And speaking of the last time these two teams met, it was a really good game, but Rockwall came out in the final minute. They came out to beat the Rockwall Heath Hawks by a final score of 1-0. That, of course, that was back on February the 13th. Hudson Morgan with the game-winning goal, sending the Rockwall Yellow Jackets to a 1-0 victory. Of course, talked to both coaches after the game after that one. Phil said, let it go. We'll see him here in a couple weeks. And sure enough, here we are. Tony was really glad to get that win against the Heath Hawks. But, of course, they were still fighting for District 10 6A supremacy at that time. But, of course, everything else played out to where the Hawks had not lost a game until they saw Tyler a couple nights ago, actually. They fell for their second loss in District 10 6A play. Taking a look at who the leaders are for both these teams, of course, we mentioned Phil Duhon, who is entering his 8th season as head coach of the Heath Hawks. There he is in his very game day pose, of course. Of course, we like getting photos of Phil. He's definitely photogenic, as he says. And, of course, Phil and his squad, the Heath Hawks, have made a state run in the past. Of course, they made it to the state final in 2021. And as Reggie mentioned, of course, this is the first district championship in the Phil Duhon era. So congratulations to the Hawks on claiming that right. You look over here.
And the first district championship, too, at the 6A level.
Exactly.
For Heath. You know, their last district championship came back a few years ago when they were still a 5A team. You know, you can't argue with what the district's done with both of these programs. They've hired two amazing coaches. When Tony Bowles came over from Mesquite High School a few years ago, I had the great fortune that when Tony was the boys' varsity coach at Heath, I was the girls' varsity coach at Heath, and we worked together for a number of years. And then when the opportunity came to bring Phil Duhon up from, I believe it was Round Walk, and no one could have done more with this program from where it was to where he's brought it to now, both with their state run and just their consistency year after year.
Absolutely. And mentioning Tony Bowles, he's in his 16th season. He told me to give a shout out to his smoking hot wife, Dr. Bowles.
Yes.
So I have to make sure that she got the shout out here tonight. Of course, he does have two kiddos at Williams and Nebby as well. And he also said he loves sweet tea. So if they win the game today, he's asking for some sort of sweet tea from somebody.
Yeah, and let's not let's not ignore the fact that Kelsey Bowles is the heart and soul of that family. The
Absolutely.
fact that you can be married to Tony Bowles on a day in and day out basis just absolutely astounds me. Her level of pain that she's willing to put up with.
Absolutely. We do have the starting lineups here, and I will get those on the screen as we go. But, of course, this game has kicked off, and I'm going to give the reins to Coach Webb.
As best as I can to try to find numbers. We're seeing an early attack here from Rockwall. First shot on goal, Lucas Bandersky is in goal for Heath to start this match. And I got to tell you a little funny story really quick about Lucas. I had the great privilege of coaching him in middle school. A couple of years ago, my cardiologist diagnosed me with a heart condition, and I'm pretty sure Lucas Bandersky is responsible for the vast majority of my heart condition. He is the most dynamic keeper that I've ever coached in my career. He is absolutely fearless, and you're going to see a lot of that out of him tonight. He will take chances, but he will come way out of goal. He will challenge attackers, especially on breakaways, and the vast majority of the time, he is absolutely spot on. A goal right there from Heath. Oh, did they call that offside?
Looks like they called that off.
Yeah.
I put my starting lineup graphic up, and of course they put it in the net when I had the net block. So we're getting there. I'll put the starting lineups for the Heath Hawks and of course the Rockwall Yellow Jackets there on your screen. Follow as you go, of course, and we will keep going here with 38 minutes to go.
Quick throw in here for Heath.
Got a little Nat sound out there for you as well. We got the stick mic out there.
Chris Parody's on the sidelines for Heath, getting ready for a long throw in. This is something that Heath has capitalized on all year. Their dead ball scoring opportunities from both long throws, from goal kicks, from corner kicks.
Oh, big save right there by Rockwall. I believe that's Gordon Holland in net for Rockwall. Am I wrong? Is that an 18 I see?
No, that's not Gordon.
That's not Gordon.
We'll get you a number here real quick.
Of course, we did message the coaches before the game, and some of them got us a lot of information, which you'll hear throughout the night. I'll let you know it was Phil Duhan because he is a stat nerd, and of course, going to Tony Bowles, he's as chill as they come, man. Chill as they come. Got me the starting lineup and said, "Go get them." We expect 1,000 viewers tonight.
Nothing else.
Of course, kickoff here. Wind's going about 11 miles an hour to the south. There is some rain expected here in the next couple of hours. Would not delay this matchup, but we could see it as soon as this thing ends. So we'll keep you updated on that as well.
Yeah, that's the crazy part. I woke up this morning and did not have any expectations that this game was going to come off tonight. So I'm happily surprised that we're here being able to broadcast this for you guys.
Absolutely. Of course, if you're watching us from afar, give us a shout out. Tell us where you're watching from, and we'll be sure to give you a shout out here on air.
As best as I can tell, I believe that may be Knox Grimminger, freshman, in goal to start this match for the Yellow Jackets.
Well, Kelsey Bowles just tuned in, and as she said, it might be Tanner Bailey. Maybe? Of course, Kelsey had a post the other day saying, make sure it's not Bowles. Bowles. She gets that a lot, apparently. So, again, she is the leader of that family, so by far, she has to make it known, so...
Free kick coming up here from Levi Davia. Again, this is one thing you want to focus on throughout the evening tonight. These dead ball restarts from Heath have been something that they have capitalized on all season long.
Absolutely. Of course, Rockwall coming into this match 7-2-2 in district play. They have came off a loss to Royce City just the other night, right here at Wilkerson Sanders. And Heath is 8-2-1. Of course, as we mentioned, they are the 10-6A district champions for the first time under Phil Duhan and first time as a 6A school.
And one of the things with Heath, it's really been a tale of two seasons for them. They started out this season with no wins, 4 losses, and 1 draw, which is, as a coach, that is the worst hole you can dig for yourself. But since that time, they've gone 10-2-3, 10-6-4 for the season. Already wrapped up the outright district championship. That's a coach who obviously figured out stuff early on, made the changes that needed to be made, put the right kids in the right spot, and now here they are heading into the playoffs as the district champions.
Absolutely. Looks like they will face Wiley, and that matchup will be breaking news. It will be right here at Wilkerson Sanders next Friday. Believe that kickoff will be 7 p.m. We will, of course, confirm all these. This is just spitballing at this point, but it does look like Heath will be here.
Jack Gilliland with the long throw in for Rockwall. Heath does a good job of clearing it out of the box.
Of course, the Lady Hawks and Lady Jackets are kicking off from Heath High School this evening, should I say. This time change has just completely messed me up.
Yeah.
But though Lady Hawks are in the playoffs, they will be traveling to Wiley. And the Lady Jackets have to win tonight to keep their playoff hopes alive. Of course, they've had a great run here in the last 4 to 5 years. They're looking to keep that run going. Of course, they fell to... Lady Hawks beat Rockwall 1-0 here last time we were here. Or was it 2-1? 1-0. It was 1-0. Scored a late goal in that game.
Nice save there from Bendersky on the long throw in.
Of course, you mentioned, the Heath Hawks have really dominated possession in most of their matches. This game last go-around here on February 13th, they had possession over 50% of the time, and actually it was 54.9% compared to that 45% for Rockwall, and they outshot Rockwall 16-10 in that game. Most of their shots were coming in that first half.
Well, these are just 2 high-quality teams that know what they do well and what they struggle with. They play to those points of power as much as they possibly can. Rockwall is a team that typically is going to want to possess a little bit more than actually be a dynamic, risk-taking team. But at the same time, one of the things they do really well is they play well from out of the back, which is what any quality team wants to do. You want to be able to start your play from the back. You want to be able to make runs up. Heath, on the other hand, does a great job of controlling the midfield. They've got incredibly strong midfielders. They've got incredibly strong forwards. So that's one of the things to look for tonight. Rockwall's ability to make long runs, to have continuing possession, make long runs from their outside backs up into the attacking third of the field. And then you want to look for Heath to control the middle third of the field a little bit more and control the possession that way.
Absolutely. And there's that graphic on the screen for you that if you weren't able to catch the last game over at Heath High School, there you go. There's kind of how that game played out. Of course, 1-0 win for the Rockwall Yellow Jackets in that one.
Okay, once again, Chris Paredes looking for a long throw into the box here. Look for him to try to create a scoring opportunity off of this throw in.
Kid's definitely got an arm for the throw in.
Just over the crossbar. Actually, both crossbars.
Absolutely. It was really his gameplay when I was at their game Friday after last against Royce City, where they were kind of struggling. They went down 1-0. They ended up rattling off 4 straight goals, but he was kind of the answer and kind of got the lock unlocked for the Heath Hawks in that game.
Okay, Austin Branch setting up the corner here. It's an outswinger. Oh, it was a great job of trying to finish that. Got it right on a foot, but it was a Rockwall defender was perfectly placed to block that.
Great defense there by the Rockwall Yellow Jackets. Or he might have had a wide open net.
So Rockwall starts to build this with their center backs out of the back.
Of course, Reggie, with both these teams obviously already knowing that they have punched their ticket to the UIL playoffs here starting next week, what is kind of the mindset for both these teams going in? There's really nothing to play for in this game other than pride. Like you mentioned, you don't want to get injured, keep everybody healthy and clean in this one. But what's the mindset for both these coaches?
I don't know what the word is. Pride's not the right word.
Okay.
In this game, it matters because that's always the thing with these two teams. They have grown up together. I mean, as much as we like to think of Rockwall as this huge, diverse city, it's not. I mean,
Right.
The I-30 does not divide us as much as most people think. These kids grew up playing club soccer together. They grew up playing, some of them playing YMCA soccer together. These kids are best friends off the pitch. And so this game matters for them. From a coaching standpoint, though, it's kind of what I said earlier. You've got to be cautious. You got to be careful. If you've got guys that came into this match and, they're dealing with a little bit of a quad strain or they're dealing with a little bit of an ankle or whatever else, you want to manage their minutes because, again, while winning this game is huge from a pride standpoint, it doesn't really accomplish anything for you. It's not going to change the standing. It's not going to change who your matchup's going to be next week. And your ultimate objective when you came into the season was, hopefully winning district. And then your next objective was getting into the playoffs, winning that first round playoff match, and then you move on from there. It's one step at a time.
And, of course, for both these teams, you want to start a new winning streak. Both of them have lost their last game, essentially. So coming back into this game and getting that win before you hit the playoffs is a big deal.
And it is a huge deal. But you don't want to completely sell out anything. If your starting keeper, we're looking at Rockwall tonight. They're not running Gordo Holland out there at keeper tonight. I don't know why, but if he's got a little bit of a ding, of being banged up a little bit, you want to protect him. You want him to be 100% when next week rolls around. I expect that we're going to see Heath change out keepers at halftime tonight because you want to keep your guys fresh. That's from a coaching perspective, that's your main priority tonight. I want to get the win, but I'm not going to get this win at all costs or get this win at all costs. I want to make sure that everything we do tonight is to put ourselves in a position to win, but with the main priority being focused on who we've got next, whether it's Wiley, whether it's Saxey, whomever it may be.
Sure, and Heath likes to run that 1-2 goalkeeper. Of course, they ran that in 2021 when they ran on their way to the state championship. They did go with the first half, second half goalkeeper. Of course, right now it's Lucas Bandersky who starts the first half, and of course Logan Matlin comes in for the second half. Of course, shout out to Logan's brother. Was my intern 2 years ago. He is currently rocking and rolling at the University of Arkansas. So little close proximity to our new football head coach here at Rockwall Heath High School. Of course, Casey Dick, welcome aboard. If he's watching from afar or if he's here, welcome to the community. Of course, we're excited to have him. Met him on Friday. But, of course, Heath likes to run that 1-2 punch at goalkeep, kind of keep his goalkeeps fresh and into the game. So I'm exciting for both those guys. They get to play, which is kind of cool.
Well, and as I'd mentioned earlier, with Lucas Bandersky, he is a huge risk taker, but he is a game changer as well. So, I kind of feel like maybe that's why Phil runs him out there in the first half, because he's willing to take risk. He's willing to make big plays. The other 10 players on the field can build off of the big plays that Lucas throws out there. But then if you come back in the second half and you got Logan in goal, you've got a much more steadying force. You get out, you get in front, you take a lead possibly, and then you've got this steadying force back there that's going to play it safer, but it's going to be high quality as well. And, to your point, when Heath made their state run a few years ago, it's the same mentality that Phil Duhon had back then, and it worked well for him then. And when you've got the talent that he's got in goal, you stick with what got you there.
Absolutely, and it feels like he's kind of the emotional leader of this team. Lucas, I mentioned, he's watching him pregame in a few matches I've been to this year. He's that emotional leader for sure.
It's not surprising at all. All right, Chris Brady's once again on the throw in from midfield.
Of course, Tony Bowles is the master of the flip. He is a fan of flipping that coin and seeing where we play. He's always been a fan of that, as he's told me. And of course, he will be flipping for that home field advantage between Saxe and Rockwall. Of course, Rockwall making it to the area round last year, falling here after winning a flip, being able to play here at home. Of course, they fell to Skyline 3-1. Last year in the area, the same as the Heath Hawks. Of course, they played over at Forester, and they fell in a heartbreaking shootout over there in 2025. So both teams looking to advance further than the area round, of course, this year, and both these teams definitely have a shot this year. It's a pretty talented two sides of town here for sure.
Oh, definitely. I mean, when this group now that are our 11th and 12th graders, they were my final 2 years when I was coaching at Utley before I moved into administration, and it was just the ultimate of times in Rockwall ISD middle school soccer. Kane's program was a dominant program. I felt like we had a really, really good program at Utley at the same time with these 11th graders that are out here for both teams. Between Kane and Utley over the course of 2 years, the Kane team and the Utley team combined for 2 total losses.
Wow.
So you knew back then that this generation, this group that's coming through this year and next year, were going to be a really special group for both of these programs. And that's really turned out to be exactly the case. You know, and when you think about, you know, how quality Kane was at the time, and potentially Kane's best player during those years was a kid named Matthew Zielinskis.
Yep.
And Matthew Zielinskis is not even playing out here tonight because after his sophomore year at Heath, he signed with a club program in Dresden, Germany, and he's now playing in the U19 Bundesliga in Germany as a starting center back for his Dresden FCE program, which, you know, imagine how much of a difference maker he makes if you've got quality kids like that on the field tonight. And that's just the type of talent that we're cultivating here in Rockwall these last few years.
Absolutely. Feel like if you're the Hawks, you got to be if you're Phil Duhon, a little deflated that he didn't say instead of going to Germany.
Yeah, but he's had, you know, and I, his parents, Mike and Brooke, I talk to them all the time, and I mean, he's living his best life right now. We kind of talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we did the girls I-30 Classic with Sarah Webb, who's the freshman keeper for the varsity Lady Hawks, and you know all the run that she's getting with the U.S. Women's National Team in her age group. I mean, yes, Rockwall is a baseball community. Yes, Rockwall is a football community, but don't lose sight of the fact that we're turning out some amazing soccer players in this community as well.
How cool is it now for both these coaches to have 2 middle schools to pull from? They're not having to kind of share Utley now. It's you know, Utley and Williams, you belong to Rockwall, and Rayco and Kane, you belong to Heath. Does that help these coaches when they look at their teams in the future?
Oh, absolutely. Because, you know, and I can tell you from being a coach at Utley, it was always a struggle for both the Rockwall coaches and the Heath coaches. You know, it was easy, using soccer as an example, it was easy for Tony Bowles to come and work with the kids at Williams on a regular basis. It was easy for Phil Duhon to go work with the kids at Kane on a regular basis. It was more challenging for Phil Duhon to show up at Utley or for Tony Bowles to show up at Utley because there's less clarity.
Sure.
Who are my kids and who are Phil's kids going to be, or who are my kids and who are Tony's kids going to be? So that's always a challenge. I can tell you from all my years that my brother was the football coach at Rockwall, and then the last few years at Heath, it was kind of the same thing. You have a challenge when you showed up at Utley because you're fine with working with every kid, but not every kid's coming to your program.
Sure.
So it makes it a whole lot easier for Tony to be fully committed to both Utley and Williams now, and for Phil to be fully committed to both Kane and Rayco now, because he knows all of those kids are coming to him. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it makes all the difference in the world because the kids get to develop more of a legitimate relationship with their high school coaches before they ever step foot on the high school campuses.
Absolutely. That's got to be huge for both of these teams.
Okay, Austin Branch setting up the corner kick here. A low out swinger right back into the box. Oh, great job from the Rockwall keeper there.
You like to create a little chaos in front of the net right there, of course, and you never know what can happen there.
100%. When you've got a set play into the 6-yard box, chaos is your friend. You want to create it as much as possible because you don't care how you score. I used to tell my kids this all the time when I was coaching. I don't care if the ball ricochets off of your left butt cheek. If it goes into the goal, it counts just as much.
Everything counts.
Nice redirect there from Rockwall. They're looking for a corner kick, but I think you're going to find this is going to be a goal kick.
Of course, we welcome all you tuning in here on the Rockwall SD Sports Network here in early March, the final regular season game for both the Heath Hawks and the Rockwall Yellow Jackets. Of course, spring break is next week, but that doesn't matter. These teams want to ignore spring break next week and keep playing soccer. Of course, they will kick off their playoff journey next week. We're waiting to hear about Rockwall. We do know Heath will be playing on Friday night right back here at Wilkerson Sanders.
Former Utley Wolf, Brandon Alvarado, lining up this corner kick here. An in-swinger. Oh, got that a little bit further inside than what I think he was hoping for there. As you're watching this match tonight, from the Rockwall perspective, you typically think your offensive weapons are going to come from the front of your formation. I want you to keep an eye on number 17, Hudson Morgan, who is the left center back for Rockwall. He may be their most dynamic attacker. Even as a center back, you will find him constantly making runs up the middle of the field. He is one of their 3 leading scorers on the season with goals scored, even from the center back position. Huge difference maker. So keep an eye on 17 as we go through this match this evening. Landon Olvera there trying to make a really nice move on the sideline. Lost possession, creates a throw-in for Heath. Once again, Paredes on the throw-in. Gets this ball deep into the 18-yard box. Oh, Gordon Holland looks like has now subbed in, and Gordo is now in goal for Rockwall. I didn't even notice that substitution until I saw the different color of the goalkeeper kit, and yet that is definitely Gordon Holland in there now. So we've got a free kick setting up here off of a foul from Heath. Looks like Austin Branch is going to take this free kick. Looks like he's going to try to play back post here based on the alignment of his teammates.
Try to see if Chris for Heath does he have a sister named Cecilia by any chance? Is that his sister who was the all-state gymnast at Rockwall Heath High School? I don't know if they're related by any chance.
I don't know, but it's completely possible.
It is very possible.
Yeah.
Of course, she stamped her legacy at Rockwall Heath High School, and
yes,
one of the best gymnasts I've ever seen. I'll have to send her a message and ask. That'd be pretty cool to see that connection, if that's a thing.
All right, corner kick coming up here for Heath. Branch once again. Outswinger to the top of the 6-yard box. Great job filling in there. Charlie Rogers sends it back in.
Have you noticed any momentum essentially this game, or has it felt fairly even to you?
No, it's felt fairly even. Neither team seems to have the upper hand. I think both teams are playing a little bit cautious right now. I don't think anybody wants to give up an early goal. I think they're fine with carrying this thing 0-0 through halftime and then making whatever adjustments they need to make. Nobody's really taking chances. I do think that Rockwall's probably been a little bit more on their heels than Heath has been. Heath seems to be much more willing to take the attack to Rockwall, which doesn't necessarily equate to anything positive. Oh, not a great goal kick coming out there from the Jackets keeper. But, I think by and large it's been fairly even. Nobody's really dominating possession. Heath just seems to be a little bit more aggressive. They're earning they're earning a few more throw-ins, and certainly they've earned more corners so far than Rockwall has. It's just about, trying to maintain that balance, getting to halftime, making the adjustments necessary, and then I think we'll see a lot more risk-taking in the second half than what we have so far.
And I can confirm that is little brother.
Is it really?
It is little brother of the great Cecilia, gymnast for Rockwall Heath High School.
Well, what I would like to see him do on those throwing is the big kind of like,
right?
Yeah, the somersault throw. Yeah.
Of course, sisters at Centauri for gymnastics. That is.
Yeah, he can put more into those throws than what he's doing so far.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Might be saving that here for next week.
Long goal kick from Bandersky there. Got a flag up. Going to have to throw in here for Heath.
Of course, you need 6 straight wins coming up in mid-March to April to get to Georgia. You need 5 straight to get to Georgetown, 6 to claim yourself as the best in the state.
Yeah, but I will tell you as a coach, no, you don't. You just need one
at a time. There you go.
You just
win
need
in advance.
one at a time.
Yep, the road's going to be tough for both these teams, obviously, the further they go. Of course, that first round will be with the GISD district. And that third round, you will end up meeting teams down from the Houston area. So more than likely, we're going to be in the Waco area. The further you go, the more we'll know. But let's get to next week first. Like the great Reggie Webb just said, one at a time.
Yeah, and the thing with both of these teams, both teams are high-quality teams, right? Both teams have the ability to make a run. Oh.
There's a great touch.
Yeah, that Ben Connolly there. Ben Connolly is all elbows and knees. He is tall and skinny, and he is a load to handle once he gets in the box. He's got a powerful finish.
Just missed a gorgeous header right there. That would have been a 1-0 lead for Rockwall.
But what I was going to say is that, both of these teams have the ability to make deep runs in the playoffs. It all comes down to matchups and how that all works out for
Absolutely.
you. You never know from one week to the next, and that's kind of why I say you've got to win them one at a time. Strong foul there from Heath is because you can't control the matchups. You don't know who you're going to play next week. You don't know who you're going to play beyond that. But both of these teams are senior-led, but they're not senior-driven, meaning both teams are loaded with 11th graders. They're loaded with 10th graders. Rockwall has a kid named Andres Pena, who is a 9th grader from Utley that is an amazing talent and is going to be an amazing player in this district for the next 3 years. A little bit off. Looking for the upper 90 and the right-hand side, just a little bit off to the right there on that free kick. But it's not, you want to make the run as deep as you possibly can this year, but you also know that every single week you play, we're better next year because of that. And so you focus on that as well.
Absolutely.
Bendersky setting up the goal kick here. Well played, just off to the right. Heath brings it back in. Great shot from about 30 yards out, a little bit high and over the crossbar. Gordon Hall sets it up much better. Goal kick.
Not quite sure that was in the plans right there.
Well, sometimes the ball is lopsided and you just have to deal with it.
Of course, we do have some crews over at the Lady Hawks, Lady Jackets game, so we will get you a post on that score as soon as we find out about it. Or if you're at the game and watching this game, let us know in the chat. If you're watching in the chat, let us know where you're watching from and what's for dinner tonight.
Yellow Jacket set up from a corner kick. In swinger, just off. Just over the crossbar.
And Rockwall's really living on that crossbar the last couple of runs down the field here.
Well, they're starting to take up the pressure a little bit more. That's a couple of corner kicks now out of their last 3 possessions.
Of course, we talked about this, last game, even though we weren't covering the boys' game. Rockwall's kind of owned this series here the last couple of years. Heath may have had the better record, but Rockwall will have always had the last couple of years this game in their back pocket the last couple of years. So it's kind of intriguing to see how these two teams play out here tonight.
Well, like with any program, any high school program, you're kind of, especially in a public high school program, you're limited. It's going to be peaks and valleys. You're going to have a huge run of talent that just comes together at the same time, and then it's going to be a little bit more of a dearth of talent that goes through some years. And, the pendulum kind of swings back and forth, and it's swung a little bit in Rockwall's favor over the last 2 or 3 years after Heath's big run a few years ago. But now, it seems super even now. Maybe swinging a little bit in the Heath side of things, but I think both of these programs are literally at the same level.
Sure.
And both are in a great shape, not only for this year, but for the next couple of years to come as well.
Yeah, both teams kind of stubbed their toe last year. They probably were 2 of the better teams, and they kind of just both stumbled there in the area around. Or if they had escaped that area around, they could have gone on a big run. I know both these squads knew they could, and they had the talent, of course. But, like you said, sometimes the luck just doesn't fall your way in playoff soccer.
Yeah, and and I've had the luxury the last few years of being able to see up close and personal the soccer program there at Kane Middle School where I'm at, and see how high of quality that program has been. I always, as an administrator who's in charge of making the admin on duty schedule, I always make sure that I schedule myself to cover all of the Kane versus Utley and Kane versus Williams soccer matches, just so I can see what's coming up. And those have been just absolutely slobber knockers the last couple of years.
Those don't get intense, do they?
Oh no, they get incredible for 12, 13-year-old soccer. It's incredibly
That's
intense.
Awesome.
And I look at because when Phil Duhan shared his roster with us for this matchup tonight, he shared his playoff roster as well, the kids he's taking into the playoffs. And he's got like 6 or 8 ninth graders that he's suiting out for playoff matches. Not that they're going to get a lot of playing time, but they're going to get that experience.
Sure.
They're going to get the bus rides. They're going to get all of the pomp and circumstance that goes along with playoff soccer. And that's going to be invaluable for him going forward.
And you see that a lot in football. A lot of the freshmen or sophomores, they don't play. They don't ever see the field, but you take them on that that journey just to experience what it's like. So it's a big deal for soccer as well. Get those kids some experience on the bench.
Yeah, completely. So, and this is playing out about exactly as I expected. Good run here from Heath. I understand trying to take the shot there, but he had a teammate there on the left side that I think I would have rather seen him kind of laid that into the 6 and letting his teammate, Landon Olvera kind of run on that. Sometimes your eyes get a little bit bigger than your stomach when it comes to getting down inside the 18 like that.
Of course, Cecilia is tuning in now. She said her mother didn't give her the update that the game was being streamed tonight. So she's tuning in now, and shout out to her. And
now that we've talked about her already.
Now we're good. Of course, shout out to Nathan Tran tuning in. Says, go Hawks. And of course, Dr. Bowles is tuned in as well. I don't know who she's cheering for, though.
She's cheering for the Bulls, not the Bowls.
Oh, that post made me laugh that she posted the other night. I was like, here we go again. Of course, her kiddos will be on this pitch here fairly soon.
Couple of years. I guarantee it. Oh, great save there from Gordon Holland. Oh, a little bit of a ticky-tack foul there. I thought that the Heath attacker did a good job of maintaining possession there, but they called a little tick there, and now Rockwall will have a free kick from their own defensive third of the field.
Only about 3:45 left in the first half here. Of course, Rockwall and Rockwall Heath deadlocked at 0.
Oh, Jacob Archer taken down just outside the box.
It's getting a little more frisky down there.
It definitely
They're starting
is.
to tune it up just a little bit.
This is a great opportunity here for Rockwall. Looks like Nolan Foster teeing this up. And Brandon Alvarado coming in as well. Depends if it's going to be a left shot or a right shot.
Of course, you got the Great Wall of Hawks right there.
Yeah, I think I would let Alvarado take this, and they did. Up, a little bit high, and left.
A little bit too much of adrenaline there for the Jackets. Of course, the Hawks in their white kits with red shorts. And I guess you would call it, for the Rockwall Yellow Jackets, orange camo in a way with the black shorts.
Just anything to make it more difficult for us to see numbers.
Of course, we are 30,000 feet in the air. So it is nearly impossible up here for us to see that. In due time, we'll have some technology up here to help us out.
Rockwall running a little bit up on the back there. You know, one of the things I'm seeing, and I know we're in the waning moments of the first half here, he seems to be pressing a little bit more, but they seem to be looking for a lot more through balls than they were earlier, which is not really working out that well with Rockwall's formation that they're playing right now. I would like to see Heath maintain possession a little bit more and work the ball down inside the 18 instead of trying to pass it down inside the 18. I think that fits Heath's game a little bit better than what they're kind of doing right now. It's a little bit of desperation from them.
Absolutely.
So about a minute and 20 seconds left. Gordon Holland's getting ready to send this one back up the field. A little bit of pinball there in midfield. Oh, that's a really good ball there. And really fortunate on Rockwall's part that there was no call there. I know it's a little bit tougher to make that call inside the box, but that was a risk that I don't know as a coach I would have super been willing for Isaiah Ivey there to take inside the box.
Of course, if you're Heath, a little awkward that they got to celebrate that district championship with, of course, there's a run here by Rockwall.
They called him offsides. Not certain about that.
Of course, Heath losing 3-2 to Tyler Legacy, a game that they were really disappointed that they let get away. Of course, leading that one 2-0 and dropping 3 straight.
Yeah.
Of course, they did celebrate that district championship as well. They should have. But it had to be a little awkward that they lost the game and had to celebrate that one as well. Of course, they tried to celebrate that same night. Though a couple days before, of course, Rockwall falling to Royce City helped their cause just a little bit.
Yellow card issued here to Jack Gilliland, and if you saw that, there was a free kick from Bandersky there. Gilliland didn't give him his full 10 yards, turned around, kind of a little sleight of hand there where if I'm not looking at you, I'm not intentionally doing it, but he wasn't giving the Heath player the full 10 yards clearance before his free kick. It came off of Gilliland's back. Gilliland gets a yellow card. So he'll have to sub out momentarily, which is part of the UIL rules. If you get a yellow card, you have to immediately sub out. You get replaced, but you can come back on at the next substitution, which brings us to halftime, so that won't be necessary.
That was a heck of a kick with 2 seconds left in that one. That was pretty good. Of course, here we are. It's 0-0 after one. Coach, what did you see? What did you like from both of these squads? What didn't you like about one of these squads, of course, playing in their final district game of the season?
This was like the first 3 rounds of a classic heavyweight boxing match. Both sides were kind of filling each other out, seeing what they were doing well, seeing what they weren't doing well. I fully expect we'll see a lot more dynamics in the second half than we saw in the first half. Again, as I said, I would like to see Heath maintain possession a little bit more than what they have through the middle third and the attacking third. And I fully expect to see Rockwall take some chances pushing up their backs, their center backs, especially with Hudson Morgan and Connor Shaughnessy, seeing them push them up a little bit more into the attack to create some scoring opportunities. Because at this point in time, you win the game, you win the match 1-0, you lose the match 1-0. It's not that significant of a deal, but you don't want to sit here and walk away at 0-0 because nobody likes kissing their sister.
That is actually very accurate, of course. And, of course, both these teams will be moving on to the playoffs after this game. But, first of all, shout out to Carla Mayhew. I think it was Carla Mayhew.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Carla.
Carla Mayhew just texted and said she couldn't figure out the chat, but she's watching. So shout out to Carla, of course, everybody for tuning into this one. It is the I-30 Classic Part 2 between the Rockwall Yellow Jackets and Heath Hawks. A lot of action going on here around the district here tonight. The weather is playing nice. It should play nice for the rest of this game, but it might get a little ugly right as this game ends, but we'll hopefully be packed up and get out of here by then. Of course, the Lady Hawks and Lady Jackets are going to battle over at Heath High School, otherwise known as the Heath Coliseum. Of course, that game is a big one for the Lady Jackets. They have to win to keep their season going, and the Lady Hawks have already clinched a spot in the 2026 UIL playoffs. Of course, they will get going next week on Friday at Wiley High School. They'll take on the Lady Pirates of Wiley High School at their home facility. And, of course, baseball going on around the district as well. Of course, the Heath Hawks are playing over at the Hawks Nest. Of course, right now they lead that game 1-0, and I will eventually get over to Royce City ISD. Of course, they are streaming the game here tonight for the matchup between the Jackets and the Bulldogs, and I'll get us a score here momentarily on that game. I do believe they are live tonight with that game, and that game is 1-0 Rockwall. So shout out to Royce City for streaming that game for us over at Royce City High School. Of course, this game is 0-0. Coach, what do you want to see here in the second half for both these teams? Of course, the final half of the season for both these squads. In the regular season, you mentioned kind of talking about they're kind of feeling each other out in the first 20 there, and then we kind of started getting some big chances there going in the second half of that first half. So what do you want to see here in the second half?
Well, as a soccer fan, I want to see them kind of take the training wheels off a little bit. But as somebody who coached a number of these kids or coached against, the ones I didn't coach that are on the field, I coached against on the field. I would love to see both coaches come out and give their best effort for the first 10 minutes or so of the second half. And then some of these kids that they're dressing out tonight for their playoff roster, give those 9th and 10th graders a chance to go out and have an impact, because you're not, again, this is my mindset as a former high school coach. I know those kids, I'm not going to count on them much in the playoff run. I'm going to take them. And here's a real experience for those kids to get varsity experience in the I-30 Classic, a game that's being broadcast, a game at the big stadium, a game under the lights. I would love to see them do that. Come out and let me see your best players for the first 10, 15 minutes of the second half. And then after that, set them down, because what I want more than a win tonight is a win for both of these teams next week. And that's when I take my kids, my 9th graders, 10th graders that have got dressed out tonight. I give them the full run of the field, and I let my best 9th and 10th graders go and take on the other team's best 9th and 10th graders, and let's see how the final 20 minutes of the night plays out.
Of course, Rockwall is doing their halftime chit-chat right there on the 20-yard line. I must have missed where Heath went. They are not on the field. I'm assuming they might have gone behind the bleachers on the visitor side, or they went to the locker room. I was not paying attention when they went down there. But we got about 5 minutes left to go here in halftime. Of course, both keepers are warming up. It looks like we're going to get new keepers for both schools. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out here in the second half. We want to give a shout out to some of our sponsors, of course, for making the Rockwall ISD network a reality for almost every sport that we cover here at Rockwall ISD. Big shout out to Quirky Randolph and Alliance Bank, of course, our title sponsor for every sport all season long. We appreciate Quirky and everything that he does for us. So if you're looking to get into some banking, you got some money you want to figure out how to get a handle of, give Quirky Randolph a call over there at Alliance Bank. And, of course, shout out to Rest Haven Funeral Home right down the street here. Give a shout out to Leslie Johnson if she's tuning in. Of course, her daughter was a Lady Jacket during that state run in 2022. Rockwall Sports Center, of course, we're all wearing gear from Rockwall Sports Center. They hook us up each and every week. They are the best in the biz. And I'll go to my grave on that one. They are awesome over at Rockwall Sports Center. Anything you need, whether it be a Rockwall or Rockwall Heath garment, or if you need just a shirt of Coach Rodney Webb maybe on you and you just want to get a graphic of him and say, least handsome Webb, I mean, she'll make it happen.
Yeah, nobody needs that. My mom wouldn't even have worn that shirt.
And, of course, shout out to our other sponsors as well. Hambia Insurance, HBTX, Riddle Brothers, Shane Holmes, Griffin Heat Shields, American National Bank, of course, Rockwall Ford, Texas Health Rockwall, Jacob Rhodes tuning in from Smith Allen Insurance, Signmark, Colmet, HTO. Of course, we have seen HTO everywhere. Of course, the Ivy family is awesome. They're building another location off 205 and 549. Be looking for that groundbreaking here in the next couple of weeks, according to Jeff. Jeff was actually working during the baseball tournament.
By the McDonald's and the 7-Eleven?
By the McDonald's, 7-Eleven, and future Taco Bell right there.
Yeah.
And he's going to be right in the middle of that action right there off 205.
Did not know that.
And 549 coming up here very soon. Of course, Toll Brothers as well, giving them a shout out. And our newest sponsor, Servant Heart Orthodontics. You know what, Coach? Let's hear from Servant Heart Orthodontics real quick while we have some time.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ryan Allo, owner of Servant Heart Orthodontics.
Our mission is simple, serving people and serving smiles. Using advanced digital technology like KLO and custom braces and angel aligners, we create beautiful smiles efficiently so treatment fits into your busy lives. Most importantly, we treat every patient like family. Come see us to get your dream smile. Come see us to get your dream smile.
Dr. Ryan. Hi, I'm Dr. Ryan.
I'm learning how to press buttons over here. It's a Tuesday night. It's a Tuesday night before spring break, so getting a little antsy over here.
It's the second Monday night of this week.
It's always the Monday night until Friday gets here, of course.
Yes.
This is the last district game for both of these squads, as we have mentioned. Of course, both these teams are heading to the playoffs, so congratulations to both these squads. Excited to bring you some playoff soccer next week. Now, we know we'll have at least 3 teams going, so going to ask for some grace. We do have some people that are going to be out of town next week. It is spring break. We are going to try everything in our power to get all 3, if not 4 soccer games on for you next week. If only the coaches would work with us and just play every game at one facility.
Yeah,
that would be dreamy.
Nobody asked us. Yeah, just a quadruple header.
More than likely, it will be Friday, all at 7 o'clock. But, of course, we do know one thing. Heath will be playing Wiley here at Wilkerson Sanders on Friday night at 7 p.m. That one is official. The Lady Hawks are official. They will be playing Friday night at Wiley ISD Stadium. So that eliminates the 7 o'clock for those two. So now we know Saxe and Rockwall will be playing each other.
We just don't know where.
We don't know where. We
when.
don't know if the Lady Jackets will be in and who they will play. There's still some decisive things to happen in the girls' bracket as well in the Garland District. So still waiting on that to see what happens there. But if Dr. Bowles is still watching, maybe talk to Tony and say, hey, let's do a Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So then they would be the only game in town.
There you go.
That would be incredibly dreamy. We could have 2 soccer matches on Thursday and Friday right here at Wilkerson Sanders. What better way to spend your spring break than with us right here? Of course, that makes it a little easier on us, but like I said, I do promise that we will try to get every single bi-district matchup that we have for you It won't be us together because we're all going to have to split up. So, but we have at least 3 or 4 people that will be helping us. Of course, JMO will be joining in next week as well. But everybody else is out of town, so we're going to have to figure out what we're going to do. But we'll get it on. You may have just a camera. You may just have a broadcaster. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
I'm a teacher. I can't afford to go out of town, so I'll probably be around for whatever you need.
Well, we appreciate that, Coach. Shout out to Daniel Hine watching in Vamos Rockwall. Love seeing our Force FC Rockwall players representing both the Yellow Jackets and the Hogs. So shout out to Daniel for tuning. You know Daniel?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
You know everybody.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
and I was going to give a shout out too, real quick, to Robert and Irina Rodriguez. Their son Diego, starting striker for Heath tonight. 2 of my favorite people. I had the great fortune of coaching Diego when he was in middle school, but they're such a unique family from a soccer perspective because Robert is from Argentina, which completely fits with how quality of a soccer player Diego is. Irina is from Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Okay.
And so I had the luxury or the great fortune of coaching Diego, teaching his older sister, and I think I learned more about geography from the 2 of them than I did all my years as a geography teacher.
It's amazing how that works.
They
isn't
have
it?
such a unique background with Argentina and Ukraine, and they're so involved in so many Ukrainian cultural events around the area. Just the best family you can ever meet.
There are some fun people around this town that you just never know who you're going to end up meeting and what you're going to learn every day around here.
Absolutely. Well, second half gets off to a quick start here, battling it out in middle field, playing a little bit of pinball. Again, I fully expect to see both teams kind of take the brakes off a little bit here. A little bit of a pretty violent collision there with the Rockwall defender and the Heath attacker. But as I was saying, I expect to see both teams kind of take the brakes off a little bit and try to get out, get a goal, be able. I would fully expect, right now, if I were a betting man, that this may very well end up to be a 1-0 game because I don't think anybody's going to come out and just totally dominate the second half, but I would expect to see one team try to get out, get a goal early, and then be able to protect that to the best of their ability. I think both of these teams will do a great job, not tonight, but going forward as well, being able to protect a 1-goal lead when needed. So look to see who gets on the board first here, or who takes the most chances to get on the board first.
Of course, Rockwall scoring that late goal in game 1 between these 2 teams to win 1-0, as you mentioned. So would not be surprised if we see that all over again here tonight in Rockwall. Of course, both these teams like stealing the home facility win from each other. It's always nice to win at your... Even though it is kind of Heath Stadium in a way, but when it comes to soccer, it becomes just Rockwall's.
No, absolutely. All right, quick restart here on a free kick from Rockwall. Down the sidelines, a quick fakey inside.
Beautiful. Oh.
Nope, just a little bit wide. Again, both teams seem to be settling for taking shots from distance. I mean, most shots that we've seen tonight have been from 30-plus yards out. Nobody's doing a highly effective job of working the ball at least inside the 18 for scoring opportunities so far. I do expect that you're going to see more of that, but I could be wrong. So far, we're still just settling for 30-yard shots from distance.
Of course, if you're wondering about the way, there's a little pushing match right there. We call that a little brouhaha.
Yeah, just getting reacquainted.
Of course, if you're wondering about the weather and if it's going to affect this game, it is still way past Fort Worth, so we should be over this game and back home before the weather gets here. So glad we were able to get this game in here tonight. Both these coaches probably glad they don't have to wait another day.
Oh, absolutely. Once again, I think this is Knox Grimminger, at least according to the roster that Tony Bowles gave us. This is Knox Grimminger in goal right now. Kelsey, if you want to correct me, feel free to text and let me know. But it looks like freshman Knox Grimminger back in goal, started the game tonight for Rockwall, did a fine job. Looks like he's back in goal again. We've got Rockwall making a quick push up the left side here.
You might get an email from the doctor here in a little bit.
It won't be the first one that I've gotten from our. All right, so Rockwall's going to have an opportunity here for a long throw from the near sidelines. Looks like Jack Gilliland on the throw. This could create a scoring opportunity if he gets a quality throw in here.
It's right where you want it.
Perfectly placed. Well done by Heath being able to defend that. All right, it's going to set up a corner for Rockwall.
Of course, Will McCreary down there, guarding the sidelines of Wilkerson Sanders. Of course, the Rock and R Relays will be this Friday. Beautiful weather in the 80s. Couldn't ask for anything better for the Rock and R Relays. His only relays he's going to host this year. He doesn't host district, won't host area, won't host any of that. So this is his big finale for the year as far as hosting. He told me we have to stream it. So we're going to have to figure out in the future how we can do that. I don't think we can get it off by Friday.
Left-footed Brandon Alvarado set up to take this corner for an in-swinger. Great, well played, but well defended also by Heath there. By the way, just to confirm what we talked about earlier, Logan Maitland is in goal now for the second half, as we expected for Heath. A great stop there from him. So a free kick coming up here for Heath from just inside the defensive third, or the offensive third.
Of course, that physicality picking up just a little bit, as you can tell.
It is.
So if you're wondering if this game, obviously it doesn't mean anything in the standings, but it definitely means everything to both these two schools.
Austin Branch on the free kick. Great job from clearing from Rockwall. Oh. I was going to say that should have been a call there. Rockwall got just a little bit chippy there.
Of course, from Rockwall, you're looking to sweep your biggest rival. And, of course, for Heath, you want to not get swept, and you want to split that season series and, of course, steal one here at home from Rockwall.
I think that was the freshman I referred to earlier, Andres Pena, on that foul. Trying to get the ball cleared out, caught a heel there. Very dangerous free kick opportunity here for Heath. Played it short. Oh, that was well played. Great save.
Wow.
Great clearance. Well done by Rockwall. That was a little bit frantic right there. That was two great scoring opportunities created by Heath. Great job of executing just a short play on the free kick and then getting it centered in. Great job from the keeper. Great job. And I didn't catch the number on whoever the defender was that was protecting the line right there to get it cleared out. Great job by Rockwall of not looking up right now and being down 1-0.
It just means more. Of course, the Lady Jackets needing to win tonight to keep their playoff hopes alive. They are currently leading 1-0 over at Heath High School. So the Lady Jackets looking to keep their season rolling.
So we literally could have a quadruple header.
We're in trouble.
Yes, we.
So if you know soccer and want to come broadcast next week.
It's good I'm off next week. I may need to sleep.
Let us know.
Great goal kick out there from Grimminger.
Of course, we are a little slow with the names. We are 30,000 feet in the air, like I mentioned, so it's hard to see these numbers, especially at night.
And sometimes I'm just slow, period. So.
And they do not pop very well from up here, so.
No, I'm literally looking through binoculars, through my bifocals, trying to get a kid to turn around to show me his number.
It's always the best when they never turn around for you.
Yes.
They turn every which way but your way.
So again, as I said at the beginning, I mean, we're incredibly happy, thankful to be able to broadcast this for those of you who can't be here tonight to at least watch the kids play. And we promise you we'll do the very best we can to get as many names called out and get as many numbers determined as we can. And but it's not going to happen as fluidly as we wish it would. Oh, great corner there or a great cross there from Heath.
Of course, next year we might have to find out if we can get on the sideline and broadcast. It'd take a little bit more technology from down there, which right now is not possible. But that's what the summer's for.
Yeah, I mean, when broadcasting soccer, that's the ideal situation. You get a whole lot more into the game. You know, you bring the elements into play, which is not always a great thing for broadcasting, but certainly gives you a lot more perspective than what, you know. And in football, again, football jersey is going to have 18, 22-inch numbers on the back of it. It's easier to see. Soccer jersey is going to have like 9-inch numbers on the back. Not as easy to see.
And you got to have a little technology down the sideline.
Uh-oh, a little bit of mistake there from Maitland. Went up to make the save for Heath. The ball came off his hand, but got over the top of his head, went out of bounds. It's going to give up a corner kick for Rockwall here. Once again, I think you're going to see lefty Brandon Alvarado on this corner kick doing bringing the ball as an in-swinger. He's really placed his balls well. Heath's just done a really good job of defending these corners so far tonight.
Oh, what
Great
a
save.
Man, both these keepers have made one electric save in this half to keep this 0-0.
Looks like Cohen Salazar has just checked in for Rockwall in a midfield position. Great run there from Heath. Fortunate from Rockwall, nothing was called there just outside the 18-yard box.
There was just nowhere for him to go after he got inside the 20.
Yeah, and that's true. But on the other hand, there's a method to that madness.
Sure.
You know, when you get to that point where there's nowhere to go, then can I draw a foul?
Yep.
Can I draw a foul in a advantageous position? Can I draw a foul inside the box and get a penalty kick out of it? You know, sometimes you work yourself into those positions to try to be able to create an opportunity that otherwise wouldn't exist.
That's what Heath did against Royce City. They were trailing 1-0 and worked their way in and got a foul, and the floodgates opened for them.
Pena once again on a great takeaway there.
There's bodies flying everywhere.
Really are. I mean, the intensity is definitely picked up. And Gilliland's right in the mix of all of it for Rockwall right now. Not shockingly.
There's a yellow card. Of course, if we could play Drowning Pool at the bodies at the floor, we would, but the FCC would say no to that, so we won't do that. Just imagine them playing that in your head. There's about 6 bodies that hit the ground there in literally 15 seconds.
Yeah, and not all directly involved in the play.
Absolutely not.
It's part of the problem. So if the kids weren't remembering yet that this was Heath versus Rockwall, I think they've been reminded.
Well, we're in it now with 28 minutes to go in this one. It is still 0-0. These teams are battling for bragging rights in the I-30 Classic Part 2. Of course, Rockwall winning 1-0 the first go-round.
Quick throw in there for Heath. Looks like J.J. Whitney bringing it up on the far side of the field.
Of course, those thunderstorm watches are starting to pop up as my Perry-weather is going bananas.
Yours and mine as well. Big collision there from Cal Brunson, freshman Cal Brunson, for Heath. Trying to clear a cross out there, picks up a foul, gives Heath a free kick here.
Of course, both these teams putting some freshmen in to kind of maybe see what they got going forward.
Well, again, as I'd said at halftime, you know, I'm all for that. You know, I mean,
See what you got.
again, you yes, it's the I-30 Classic. Yes, you want to win this game, but at the end of the day, I want to get my kids some experience. I want to get them, some opportunity on kind of the biggest stage short of the playoffs. Oh, great save. Great save from Grimminger there. That was a dead-on shot from about 15 yards out. Great opportunity there. Great shot from looks like it was Charlie Rogers. But to my point, if I've got these kids that I'm dressing out tonight that played with my JV or maybe got a few caps with the varsity throughout the season, get them on the field.
Absolutely.
Give them an opportunity tonight. That'll pay off dividends for you down the road, whether it's this year, whether it's next year or the year after. That's what you want to do. That's how you build your program.
Of course, both these keepers have seen some pretty hot shots here in the second half. We didn't see them much in the first half, but
they really have.
They're getting some shots, and they're definitely making the big-time save to keep their teams alive in this one.
Great opportunity there from Gilliland.
Just over the top there. You kind of feel like both these teams, there's not really a team that's really taking control. Like you kind of mentioned at halftime, it's a heavyweight fight, and they're both throwing punches at each other, and one hasn't connected yet, but you feel like it's going to happen any minute now for someone.
Well, and I feel like these teams are so evenly matched. What I think maybe what I'm concerned or excited for, depending on your level of interpretation, is I think this match is going to get more aggressive because the coaches have coached up as much as they can coach up for the whole team at halftime. And now beyond subbing a kid out here and there, the kids are on their own on the field. And it just seems more and more like these kids are starting to remember, we're playing Heath or, we're playing Rockwall and I'm not going to give an inch here. And the physicality, as we've mentioned, has tuned up just a little bit. I see the aggressiveness tuning up just a little bit. I hope this match doesn't come down to, an unfortunate penalty in the box or something like that, but it's completely possible that it's going to be something like that may determine the outcome here tonight.
You don't want to be that guy on campus tomorrow, do you?
No, you do not want to be that guy in the locker room tomorrow. You do not want to see Coach tomorrow at all if you're that guy.
You just want to get to spring break as quick as possible.
Yes.
Of course, as I mentioned during the baseball tournament, we're not responsible for what you hear on the hot mic out there. We're responsible for what you hear right here, but not for what you hear outside. So we do apologize if there's some words out there. That's sports.
And I know a ton of these parents that are sitting in the stands tonight, so I cannot emphasize enough how important what Chris just said was. Because there are parents that will send me a Facebook message before the night's over apologizing.
Of course, they're not saying, let's go get free chicken tenders over at Raising Cane's.
That's not what they're saying.
Fortunate that they're not saying that, but if they are, we're down. But of course, thanks for those that are tuning in on the Rockwall ISD Sports Network here on a Tuesday night in Rockwall at 0-0 with 24 minutes just about to go here in this one. If you're watching online, let us know where you're watching from, what you're eating for dinner tonight.
Looks like Ezekiel Varghese just checked in for Rockwall. Ben Connolly with a big, strong move there, which you'd expect from him. Again, a little bit of impatience from Rockwall there, sending a cross in on goal. You had two runners coming down the middle, including 8'4" Ben Connolly, who would have been great to be in a position to finish that, but we weren't patient enough to get it across. Now, Heath brings the ball right back down the field, puts himself back in a great position to create a scoring opportunity here. Another long throw.
Of course, 8'4", you might expect him to be playing basketball here at some point, or he might just have the love of the game for soccer.
Now, he didn't have that kind of footwork for basketball, but he is a tremendous soccer player.
Just put him there and put his hands in the air. That's all you got to do.
Great throw there.
Of course, more Rockwall fans tuning in on our chat saying Rockwall on top, go Jackets. Appreciate those tuning in on both sides of town here on the I-30 Classic Part 2.
Great one-on-one defending there from Braden Rushing.
This is an incredible game to watch. It's just punches. Both sides get a shot and back the other way. It's just back and forth, back and forth. It's great.
Brennan Alvarado with the ball for Rockwall. Gets it cleared back out from his center back onto Connolly's feet.
He is a big boy, isn't he?
He is a tall drink of water. Oh, foul on Heath. Creates an interesting little opportunity here from Rockwall. Probably not close enough in to have a legitimate shot on frame. But question's going to be, how do you play this? Do you try to bend this thing in and play it off somebody else's head? If they just try to play it as a standalone shot, maybe a little bit of a challenge. Nolan Foster's over the ball here for Rockwall. No, he took it as a shot. Oh, off the
It's that kind of game.
the left upright. The left post. That was that close. That's 3 inches away from this being 1-0 right now. Played that perfectly.
You know, as a big-time hockey fan, they say the goalkeeper's best friend is the crossbar and the two posts.
Oh, 100%. That absolutely applies to soccer. The amount of times that crossbar saves you from that 2 extra inches you wish your parents would have grown you to.
Of course, Logan going over there and giving the post a little high five.
Of course.
We play on with 20 minutes to go here.
Rockwall once again is going to maintain control in the attacking third of the field. Looks like Edward Bertrand is going to, well, no, not Bertrand. Looks like he's going to step off of the ball. And Austin Huffam is coming in for a long throw here. I can tell you from firsthand experience, the kid's got an amazing throw in. Certainly expect to see this get inside the 18. Great throw, just nobody able to get on the end of it. Austin Huffam, who also moonlights as a kicker for the Rockwall High School Jackets football team as well. He and Gordon Holland both.
Tony Bowles has nothing to say about that, does he?
Not at all.
He just has kicking university here at Rockwall High School. Always has a kicker. It's always fun to watch them in warm-ups as they're just belting them from
Yeah.
the 50-yard line with room to spare.
Funny story, when Austin was in middle school, and he played a bunch of different positions for me, but he and Gordon Holland were my center backs at Utley for the 2 years that I coached with them. That was their primary. So Tony would come and watch us play, and he could never remember Austin's name, so he just always called him, "Hey, dude." And so then when these kids are getting ready to go off to high school, and Tony and I are having the conversations that a high school coach and a middle school coach have between, "Hey, tell me about your kids, give me scouting." And I would talk to him about Austin, and he was like, "I have no idea who that is." And I'm like, "It's dude. Dude. Yeah, no, I know
dude.
exactly who you're talking about now."
He's hey dude.
Yeah.
Of course, some of you asking in right now, what is the score of the Lady Jacket and Lady Hawk game? It is still 1-0. They just started the second half. Lady Jacket's on top. They have to win that game to at least have a shot at the playoffs. Of course, it's not a guarantee if they win. They have to have a little help. But they would really help their chances if they were to win tonight against Lady Hawks.
Parady's getting prepared for a long throw in here for Heath. In advantageous position to get this ball hopefully inside the 6-yard box, create a scoring opportunity, and he does just that. Nobody could get on the end of it, though. Results in a goal kick for Rockwall.
Of course, these two teams are throwing punches at each other left and right. We're going to have a keeper change, it looks like, here for Rockwall.
Looks like Gordon Holland's coming back in the match.
Any reasoning behind that goal change halfway through, or just seeing what we got? Or
Obviously he is not worried about his heart rate. Because there is zero chance I'm changing keepers out twice in a game mid-half after one gets into a rhythm and I'm putting one in cold especially in a 0-0 match. Now, I understand Gordon Holland is he's your mainstay, and so you trust him no matter what. But yeah, a 0-0 match, and Grimminger has, the other keeper has done a great job for Rockwall, and I'm a much bigger fan of the Phil Duhan school of I'm going to play this guy the first half and this guy the second half, as opposed to I'm going to change these guys out mid-half when they're cold. So,
and we don't know if there was an injury or something of that nature that caused that, but maybe we'll find out here after the game.
We know Tony Bowes well enough to know that he has no heart rate. So
there's a method to the madness.
Yeah, this doesn't bother him at all. He loves living on the edge.
That's Tony for you.
All right, let's see how that works out for him. He's got a nice little run here coming down the far side of the field.
Great defense.
Hudson Morgan, great job cutting that off, as always, and maintaining possession. Oh, great job there. They got the little ticky-tack foul there, but Rockwall benefited from that, played from behind.
And with 16 minutes left, you might notice those little ticky-tack fouls might turn into a little more acting skills to see if somebody can get a little head start here.
Well, true. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think you're going to look for creativity.
Yes.
And that's probably the nicest way I could put it. Just you're going to look for a lot more creativity happening both in the run of play and in how drastic some of these fouls start to look.
It's part of the game.
Unfortunately, but yes, it is.
Of course, both these teams will have quite some time off here before they get their playoff journey going. We don't know when Rockwall will play, but we know that Heath will play next Friday. So not this Friday, but the Friday of spring break. So some time to chill out and rest a little bit, get the body healthy.
Well, and from a UIL perspective, and this is always somewhat problematic when you are playing over spring break, there's a lot of things that factor into that. Does it cost you players playing over spring break? Do you have families who have planned big trips, and now the kids have to make a decision of, am I going on the trip? Am I going to stay here for the first round playoff game? The other thing that factors in is, a huge part of every UIL sport is no pass, no play.
Sure.
But during spring break, all bets are off. Nobody's ineligible. You could have a kid who has failed all of their classes or is ineligible for whatever different reason. But during the week of spring break, when your school is out of session, everybody's eligible. Everybody's on board. And, that's always a unique thing to have happen. And really, it's really only significant for soccer, because soccer is the only sport that really that impacts, especially from a playoff standpoint.
Sure.
But, it's always interesting to see, is somebody going to get back their star player who's, not a great student, but, for this week he is.
Yeah. Of course, looking at the schedule, it does look like Phil Duhan has a matchup with West Mesquite coming up on this Friday at 4:00. I don't know if Tony has something going, but even then, you're going to have at least a week off for the Heath Hawks before they start their run.
Right.
So still 7 days to get healthy is great for his team if there's any bumps and bruises, especially after this game.
Well, and it's always a challenge because, when you don't want a long layoff, you want to find a partner somewhere out there that'll set up a non-district match that you can at least get out there and keep the rust knocked off. And I would expect when Heath and West Mesquite are playing, they're going to give their best players a little bit of run, but then it's going to be kind of to keep the rust knocked off of them, letting give some of my other kids a minute, or a few minutes of playing time in case I need them on playoff time.
Absolutely.
Or playoff night. But for the most part, it's just going to be, I don't want my kids sitting around
playing video games,
drinking Dr. Pepper and eating Frito pie for a week and a half.
Well, that sounds like a good afternoon for me.
There. It was always one of the funniest stories of my brother's coaching career when he was coaching at Mesquite Horn. And he had a player named Jakeem Grant. Jakeem Grant went off to be a great player at Texas Tech, went on to be a great player for the Miami Dolphins for a number of years. And, when Horn was a really good team, Jakeem Grant was dynamic, whether it was at wide receiver or running back or returner or wherever you needed him. But the thing you could always count on a Friday night during the third quarter, Jakeem Grant wasn't going to be available because he's going to be cramping up.
Absolutely.
Because every Friday at John Horn High School, they served Frito pie and Dr. Peppers.
Oh, no.
And that's what his game day meal was before he'd go play on Friday night, and he would start cramping up from Frito pie and Dr. Pepper.
I feel like I'd throw up after eating that and playing football after that.
But it worked out well for him. Ben Conley with a great through ball here. Rockwall got a little something going. Oh, great clearance there from the Heath defense.
Of course, shout out to Tanner Bailey and Gordon Holland. Got some fans of theirs in the group chat. Of course, we have seen the goalkeeper switch twice in the second half, so we still don't know what was their reasoning behind that. I mean, we'll figure that out here hopefully after the game.
That was Diego Rodriguez with that great save inside the 6-yard box, dropping all the way back from his midfield position to help out there. I'd mentioned him earlier at halftime. Such a big fan of him and his family. Great to see him showing out big on a huge play for the Heath Hawks tonight.
Of course, we do have an update from the other side of town. It is 1-1. Looks like the Heath Hawks have tied that game up.
Good job, ladies.
I will get that in a graphic here for you. Get it up on the screen as much as I can and get you guys updated as much as I can.
12 minutes left in the second half. Heath's got to throw in deep from their end of the field. See if they can put something together here and capitalize on a little bit of momentum. Manny Perez bringing the ball up there from Rockwall. Gets clipped from behind a little bit. Rockwall will set up with a free kick from midfield. Looks like Hudson Morgan's going to take this, so expect this ball well inside the 18. He's dropping numbers back to match up with what Rockwall has pushed forward. Quick clearance there.
Of course, we are down to 11 minutes to go in the I-30 Classic Part 2. Of course, if this one ends in a 0-0 tie after two halves, Coach, what happens? Straight to shootout.
I'm going home. I don't know what they're doing.
Think they call it a tie and just say, we're moving on? I don't think so. Oh.
Great save there from Maitland. Is that because, that's the thing. Every year when the district coaches get together, you decide what are we going to do with the tie. Is that what we're doing this year, going straight to PKs?
As of now, it's straight to PKs. They want to get out of here quicker.
Which is fine.
Sure.
I coached way too many years in Mesquite where our decision was if it's tied at the end of regulation, we play 2 5-minute extra periods, and then we go to PKs. I will never forget a match that I had in Longview on a Tuesday night that we went through 2 added periods and then PKs. It was 10:50 before we got on the buses on a Tuesday, and the next day was 6 weeks testing day. We didn't get back to the locker room at Mesquite High School until 1 o'clock in the morning.
In bed by 3.
Yeah. It's like, why am I even going home?
Of course, in the playoffs, it is a 2 10-minute halves to decide that. And then, of course, if you score in that first one, you still have another half to go. And if it's not decided by then, you go straight to the PKs. Best of 5.
Worst possible way to determine the outcome of any match is PKs. But here we are.
That's how Heath fell last year in the 7th round of the PKs. They fell in their playoff matchup, and they dominated that entire game.
Yes.
And they lost that way.
Absolutely. And it's just the most crushing way to lose a match. Parody's getting ready for another long throw inside the 6. Sets up a goal kick for Rockwall. 8:55 left here in the second half tonight. Still tied at 0-0.
Taylor Webb tuning in.
Oh, good Lord.
Do you know Taylor Webb?
Who woke her up?
Any relation at all?
Who woke her up? Somebody shut down the hair salon, and now she's got nothing to do but listen to us.
Taylor Webb tuning in. She's making the call, though. She says, go Jackets. So,
Class of 2014.
there you go. There's where the alliance lays.
My 6 daughters, and we have kids that have graduated from all over, from Naaman Forest to McKinney Boyd to Rockwall, and then my youngest is at the Rockwall 9th grade center now.
I don't know how you 6 daughters.
6 daughters.
You deserve a trophy for that one. I only have the 2, so
we've got a clock stoppage here.
we got a penalty.
We got a
shot
penalty kick. Looks like Hudson Morgan would be my guess. Yes. Huddy's stepping up to take the penalty kick here. Just inside the top of the 18, we had a play from behind, and they made the call.
Who's kicking it here?
It's Hudson Morgan.
Hudson Morgan. Morgan with 8:08 left in this one to put the Jackets up 1-0 again.
And he converts. Rockwall goes up 1-0. That's, we'd mentioned it earlier, Chris. I felt like it was a high possibility. I hate the fact that this game may turn out to be decided by just a little bit of over-aggressiveness from either one of these teams, because I felt like they were going to be more aggressive in the second half. And here we are with 8 minutes left. Rockwall takes the lead 1-0 off of a penalty that was a legitimate penalty inside the box. You've got to be extra careful when you're inside the box. But, I fully expect now for the next 8 minutes, you're going to see the Heath Hawks just unload.
Absolutely.
They're going full tilt boogie for the next 8 minutes to try to at least equalize this.
This will probably be a full throttle by the Heath Hawks. Of course, this is looking identical to the first game these two teams played. With under 10 minutes, Hudson Morgan scores for Rockwall, giving them the 1-0 lead, and they finished it out. And Heath was able to just annihilate Rockwall in those final minutes, but we're not able to put one past. But here we are again, 1-0 Rockwall, and Heath is going to have to bring it if they want to try to even this one.
And I'd mentioned earlier that I felt like Hudson Morgan was going to play some kind of a role in the outcome of this match. I mean, as an 8th grader, when our Utley boys team was the co-district champions, along with Kane, these same kids playing out here, Hudson Morgan was a defender. He was my right outside back, but he was also our leading goal scorer on the year as a defender.
Wow.
Because he's a game-changing player.
Kind of reminds me of a Lady Jacket, last name Weir. She's
Yeah, Brindley was okay.
Brindley was pretty good.
Brindley was okay.
She, of course, led the team in scoring and just about everything else you can think of for the Lady Jackets.
Watch Brindley make those runs from the back line about 80 yards with the ball on her feet, and nobody could dispossess her. She was pretty good.
She was special. Of course, Heath Hawks have 7 minutes to figure this thing out. Of course, if you're Phil Duhon, you're going to want to try to probably bring the house on it. I don't think he's saying there, okay, we're good, let's get out of here. It's not in the Heath Hawk DNA. But you're going to see a lot of this from Rockwall.
That's what I was going to say. You're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of fans get hit in the face with the ball for the next few minutes as Rockwall clears everything up above the mezzanine level.
Of course, if you've never been to Wilkerson Sanders, it's pretty protected by the stands on the visitor and home side. But everywhere else, it could go to a parking lot. It could go on the top of the aquatic center. It could go to the dog kennel behind us here. It could go anywhere. Just kick it out as far as you can if you're Rockwall.
And they will. Paradise, once again, with a good throw in. Good strong throw. Oh, got on the end of it. Had an opportunity there.
Of course, you're going to see Heath just crash the net as much as they can here in the final 6.
Yeah, good save there from Gordon Holland. And you're also going to see, as much as you see Heath crash the net, you're going to see every save that Gordon Holland makes for Rockwall is going to take an hour for him to get the ball out. Just working the clock at this point in time. It's Heath's biggest enemy. It's Rockwall's best friend right now.
Absolutely. Of course, thanks to those that are tuning in, watching the I-30 Classic, Part 2. Of course, Rockwall took the first one 1-0, and they're looking to take the second one 1-0 and complete the season sweep of their arch rivals, the Heath Hawks.
All right, Austin Huffam with the ball, looking for a long throw in. Try to create another opportunity here for Rockwall. Nope, Heath could not get it cleared out. Back across the middle of the box. Finally get it cleared out. For Heath right now, you got to get possession. You got to maintain possession. You've got to try to build something. You can't just start throwing bombs and expecting something to connect. You know, they've got to keep their composure. 4 minutes, 45 seconds is plenty of time to go back and knot this game up, but you can't do it if you don't have a plan for possessing the ball, working into a quality scoring opportunity, which really Heath has not created nearly as many of tonight as I think they would have liked to. Of
course, both these teams threw some heavyweight shots at each other, mainly in the second half, not a lot in the first. Kind of was tilted one way and would go the other way. The second half, they've taken blows at each other. Nothing has connected until the final 20 there when we got a penalty kick for Rockwall, and they connect. Hudson Morgan, once again, for Rockwall.
Ball out of bounds there. Heath will have a throw in from just on their side of midfield. Or Rockwall will have a throw in from just on their side of midfield.
So we got a timeout on the pitch here.
Hudson Morgan checked back in. Connor Shaughnessy just came off to take a break here for Rockwall.
Of course, if you're a Heath Hawk fan and you're a little worried about Rockwall Heath potentially losing 2 games here, you go back and look at their state run. Their final games of the season, they didn't win a game. Their last win came on February the 23rd. They did not win another game until the first round of the playoffs, which was on March 26th. They had a few ties in there. They finished that season 5-4-3. They were third in the district.
You know, I don't even...
It comes back to the old saying of just get in.
To your point, you know, if you're worried about Heath, then you got a whole lot of other things you probably should be worried about other than the Heath boys soccer program, simply because this is a quality program.
Sure.
We said, you know, from the jump tonight, you know, this game means something different than any other district match. Yes, losing last week was a little bit unfortunate, but then again, you know, you had a little bit of pad when you went into last week's game. You know, we talked about how you don't want to expose yourself too much tonight as you're getting ready for the playoffs. Well, to a certain degree for Heath, even that applied to their last match as well. You know, you had some pad. Heck, you didn't win the match, but you still came out of that matchup night as district champions. So, you know, as the boys that are out here playing, as the parents who are rooting these boys on, yes, they want to win. They want the satisfaction of all that. But I can promise you these coaches are looking bigger picture. You know, these coaches are focusing on next week. You know, I mean, we talked about this earlier tonight. You know, I mean, Heath, you know, as a testament to Phil Duhan and these boys that are this Heath Hawks program, you know, they started out this season in the worst possible way that you could imagine. You know, they were winless in their first 5 matches, and then they've got 10 wins in their last 15 matches. You know, it's not about how last week impacted this week and how tonight's going to impact next week. It is all about every single week is a learning experience. Every single week we're taking something out of it. Phil Duhan's going to walk away from tonight, whether it's a 1-0 final or it's a 1-1 final or whatever it is, and he's going to know more about his program to get them better prepared for the matchup they're going to have next week against Wiley. Tony Bowles is going to walk out here tonight, regardless of whether he's up 1-0 or it's a 1-1 win, and he's going to have more information for some of these kids who have got on the field tonight.
Oh, it's loose in the... Oh!
Some of these kids that have got on the field tonight, he's going to have a better idea for what can they contribute potentially somewhere down the road? If I need to spell a kid for 3 minutes here or 4 minutes there, that's what matters more than anything else. So don't worry about, whether he's coming off a 1-1 final 2 games of their season or an 0-2 final 2 games of their season. This Heath Hawks program is fully ready for the playoffs, and I fully expect that we're not going to be talking about broadcasting their game next week. We're going to have to figure out the week after next how we're going to get all those games in.
Of course, 137 remain this game. Heath had a great chance with some more chaos in front of the net, and we got a little powwow here in the Hawks end zone of the referees, and of course the Rockwall goalkeeper making his statement as well. What could they be talking about down here? Handball potentially?
I'm not exactly sure. I mean, that would be my guess based on the fact that the two of them are down there and then they're talking to the keeper, that there is some discussion about whether there was a handball in play here. But, I'll be real honest, I didn't see it at the time. What would be the point of contention?
There was just a bunch of chaos, and it was loose in front, and nothing transpired there. So we're still having a lengthy conversation down there. Of course, the game is on the line with this one.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah.
Potentially,
if, and again, my coach's mind says, well, they gave a penalty kick to Rockwall to take the 1-0 lead, so sometimes you worry that the referees are looking for a make good and looking for an opportunity to give the other team that same chance. So that may be part of what this conversation is right here.
Of course, Tony Bowles, head down, not looking positive about this for his team. He's staying inside his little box. Coach Duhan may have a foot out. His assistant coaches are definitely outside.
Yeah. Gordon Holland. Oh, we got a yellow card.
That would
looks like to Gordon.
That would explain why Tony has his head down.
Yeah. So the keeper.
Back there. Yeah.
Yeah. The Rockwall keeper is going to have to leave the match for at least a couple of minutes for a yellow card. So once again,
you ever seen this?
Tony wasn't nervous. Oh, yeah, this I've seen. This is I can completely relate to, and no one's a big fan of this. So hopefully Bowles' plan of changing out the keepers every few minutes is going to work out well for him here, because his other keeper, I think is Knox Grimminger, is back in the match now with a minute and a half left in a 1-0 match. So no handball. Yellow card on the keeper. Keeper has to come out. I do think he'll be able to sub back in quickly, but I'll be honest, at this point in time as the coach, I'm putting a keeper in there for a minute and a half. I'm not going to stop this game down again to put another keeper back in. I'm going to let Grimminger run this one out for me.
So is Phil Duhan over there? He's still having a conversation. Is he discussing about why this is pretty much a penalty or free kick for Rockwall?
Well, probably that. He may also be discussing whatever it was that led to the yellow card. How did that not rise to the level of a red card, which would then have equated to a penalty kick for his team? You never know when you're going to see these referees again down the road.
Sure.
And you work every angle you can possibly work. I'll never forget many times that I knew my parents were angry about a call that I didn't particularly disagree with, and I would be emphatically arguing with the referee, even though my entire argument was telling the referee, I completely understand why you call.
Absolutely.
I completely agree with what you're saying, but my parents are going to be mad at me if I don't look like I'm arguing this call right now. So it's a performance.
So a little sassy but cordial.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to be able to go back to the parents and say, no, I rode that guy hard. I did not let him up off the mat about that horrible call, even though the entire time I'm saying, look, dude, I completely understand the call.
Coach Duhan not happy.
Grimminger about to kick this back off. Rockwall going to build out of the back here with a minute and a half left in this match.
And if you're Rockwall here, you're just pretty much clearing it every time.
Oh, well, yeah. You don't care if it's in play. You don't care if it's out of play. You just want it to be as far away from you as possible.
And that's out on Heath, so that's going to really run this clock down for...
Yeah, I think Huffham's going to come over and take this throw, and you're going to see him probably... I mean, if I were coaching here, I would tell him to delay, even if it meant delay long enough where the referee gave you a yellow card for delay. Don't throw this ball in any quicker than you have to.
Absolutely. Dr. Bowles still with us tonight. Thanks for tuning in. I know she has some rooting interest in this game. I think she's married to the head coach, who is 1 minute away from sweeping their rivals, Heath, 1-0.
Into the box. Oh, actually a great opportunity there. I think that was Ben Connolly. 8'9" Ben Connolly got his head on that ball, nearly snuck it into the far post.
He went from 8'4" to 8'9" in 5 inches in a couple minutes. That's
he went from 5'11" to 6'5" between 7th and 8th grade, so it's completely possible.
Need to find out what creatine he's on, that's for sure.
All right, 30 seconds left in this match. He's got to give it all they've got now. It's do or die for them. You've got to get it down. You've got to create anything that you can. You just got to get it down the field.
And they are rushing, and they're going to try to finish this one off if they can.
Rockwall's got everybody back. They've got 10 guys back right now defending. It's going to be hard for Heath to find any air to breathe here right now.
And that'll probably do it. So with that being said, the Rockwall Yellow Jackets complete the season sweep of their rivals, the Heath Hawks. They win 1-0 again. It's kind of funny how this
in much the same fashion.
In exactly the same fashion, Rockwall defeating their rivals 1-0 here. Of course, both these teams moving on to the playoffs as they will shake hands on the 50-yard line, and they will go their merry way into the UIL playoffs. Coach Duhon going back over to maybe have a little conversation. Coach Bowles is dancing. Go figure. Of course, It's not crazy that these two teams could see each other once again down the road. They are going to be in the same bracket, so they could meet each other, and I think it would be, round 4? We're at 4,
Yeah.
5, 4.
1, 2, 4.
It'd be round 4.
Yeah.
So there is potential these two teams could see each other once again. So you never know. If you win your first 3 games, you're going to play each other again. So you never know.
I mean, we saw this in baseball just a few
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago, and it was the
2 years
greatest.
in a row.
It was the greatest regional finals in baseball ever. That, I mean, you couldn't even get a seat at Dallas Baptist when these two teams. I can't imagine if you did this in soccer and you got to the regional finals and these two teams were playing each other, it would be epic. And again, if we didn't learn anything else tonight, both these teams are completely evenly matched. It came down to one, I won't say iffy or borderline. It was a legitimate call, but, one unfortunate situation that creates an opportunity for Rockwall. Otherwise, they're both going home 0-0 tonight because that's how equally matched they are.
So if you're Coach Phil Duhon, you come after this game, you lose 1-0. What do you tell your team here going into Friday? Of course, they play a 5A school in West Mesquite before they finish their, quote, regular season. Then they will get ready for the playoffs with a week off. What do you tell your team after this one? Just kind of wash it away and move on?
I tell them nothing. This game, it meant more to them than it meant to this program. It meant more to them individually, from a pride standpoint than it did for this program. They've got much bigger fish to fry. They've got much bigger goals to focus on, I would have told them that before this game. I mean, not to deflate or diminish the value of this game, but we're playing tonight, but we're focusing on next week.
Sure.
I'm not worried about the outcome tonight, and so I don't have my kids thinking about this match tonight any further than until they go to bed tonight, and then you get up tomorrow. And we got one thing on our mind, and that's the Wiley Pirates. And Tony Bowles, 1-0 win for Rockwall. The same thing does not matter. There's not an extra trophy going in the trophy case because we won this game tonight. You got bragging rights for the next 3.5 hours, and then when you get up tomorrow, we're focusing on the Saxby Mustangs.
Of course, Tony Bowles down there having a wonderful moment with both his kiddos. Has handshakes. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Of course. Tony Bowles, great father, great head coach. Of course, Phil Duhon, the exact same. Both these teams will be heading on to the UIL playoffs. We will get those official schedules out later in the week. Don't forget that the Garland ISD district still has one more game to go. So Saxby is the opponent for the Rockwall Yellow Jackets. So we just don't know where, we don't know when, we don't know how. But we're going to beg them to play Thursday night so we can maybe get everybody on the broadcast schedule going forward. Of course, we will Be back in action, of course, later in the week with baseball, with Rockwall Yellow Jacket baseball on Friday night. I believe Heath is traveling to Tyler. I think they're going to have that on the call as well. So we'll have some baseball, and then we'll get ready for some soccer coming up later next week. It's spring break for everybody else, but for us, it's soccer playoffs. It's the best time of year, Coach.
It's my life, man. I mean, everybody always looks and thinks I'm the football guy. I'm the soccer guy. This is what I love. I love watching soccer, and I'm just incredibly grateful to be able to be a part of this broadcast.
You're not just a soccer coach. You're the better looking web. We have to emphasize
it's
that.
A low bar. It's a low bar. I mean, let's don't overemphasize it. It's a low bar to be the best looking web boy.
I mean, Rodney's retired now, so I mean, he can come join us on a soccer. We'd love to have Rodney come up here and join us on a soccer broadcast. That'd be great. Absolutely.
No, you would.
It would be entertaining at least. We could at least say that.
It would be. You'd have to have a 10-second delay.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, any final thoughts? This one, Rockwall wins 1-0. They complete the sweep of their rivals, the Heath Hawks.
No, I mean it kind of played out like we talked about from before the broadcast. We knew it was going to be evenly matched. We knew it may come down to one particular or one specific mistake here or there, and that's exactly what it came down to. These are two programs that I look at and I go, they're ready for what's next, and what's next wasn't about tonight. They're both ready. I'm fully confident both these teams are going to be prepared next week, and we'll be fighting this battle a week from now over how we're going to get all the broadcasts in for round 2.
I'm assuming Morgan Countryman just posted. I think it's probably her, but she did ask for a girl score. It is 1-1. That game is going into penalty kicks. So Rockwall has to win the penalty kicks to keep their season alive. So we will make sure we get that posted here.
Hey, Morgan, you're my favorite countryman.
Media. It's one of the best names in soccer. I mean, we always used to joke about it. She would just run across the country back and forth, because she was always flying down the field for the Rockwall Lady Jackets and those incredible playoff runs that they had here over the last several years. So
both her and her sister were
absolutely
amazing, left an amazing legacy at that program.
Absolutely. Of course, that score is 1-1. They are going to penalty kicks. We will update you the final score on our social media as soon as we have notice of that. We have a crew over there right now, so we'll bring that to you as quickly as we can. So for Coach Reggie Webb, I'm Chris Curtis. Thanks for watching the Rockwall ISD Sports Network, the I-30 Classic Part 2. We will be back in action sometime next week. We'll let you know where we're going and when we can bring it to you. Have a great evening, everybody, and stay safe.